facing criminal charges.
And in sports, it's a packed night in the TVC. Newswatch starts right now. Good evening, I'm Juliana Colant.
And I'm Emma Dolomere. Welcome to Newswatch, your source for news impacting southeastern Ohio. Two people targeting a Chillicothe car dealership are facing charges for allegedly stealing spare tires off vehicles from Herrnstein Automotive yesterday.
Chillicothe resident Marita Stepp and Columbus resident Ronald Perkins were arrested and charged with criminal trespass, possession of criminal tools, and theft. Charlie Vest, the IT director from Herrnstein Automotive, told us that 8 spare tires and wheels were stolen from the back of Jeeps on Friday morning. A Chillicothe police officer was on patrol in the area yesterday when an employee called to report a suspicious vehicle. The officer located a man and woman attempting to remove a tire from the vehicle when he arrived. Officers found numerous stolen tires, catalytic converters, and a stolen trailer at the house in Chillicothe in connection with the theft. Vest says this situation may be linked to additional people as well. The 2022 Athens County Sheriff's yearly summary is now available to the public. The most common calls the Sheriff's Office received this past year were for traffic stops. A total of 1,417 were made. Calls for a suspicious person or vehicle and trespass complaints followed with a total of 710. Additionally, the Drug Task Force participated or initiated 129 investigations, which led to the seizure of 233 grams of heroin, 774 grams of fentanyl, 964 grams of methamphetamine, and 122 grams of cocaine. The report also includes further information regarding offender registration, domestic violence, waste collection, and more.
Athens Mayor Steve Patterson says in a press conference that Athens City Council is working on a project to improve the city's sidewalks. The statement comes after the Ad Hoc Committee on Pedestrian Accessibility presented their final draft of recommendations to improve sidewalks to City Council.
Put a lot of work into putting together a very detailed and lengthy report that Council has been digesting and figuring out what our next steps are.
Implement list for sidewalks and other projects. Mayor Patterson says that the council will take note for these recommendations made by the ad hoc committee.
Hello, I'm Isabel Isco, your forecaster for tonight, and right now we're looking at about 35 degrees outside. That snow has been lingering all around our area, but right now for Athens, we're looking pretty cloudy. Today, right now we're about 34 degrees, but it is actually feeling like that 25. Those wind gusts has been coming in all day. I've been feeling really cold off of that wind for today. I know at about 1 o'clock there was an advisory that we are going to feel about 35-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and right now we're at about 24-mile-per-hour wind gusts. So as you can see, that snow that has been coming in, it's been in and out. It's been pretty patchy, and that purple is light rain, so we've been feeling that most of the day. Going into today, that 50% chance of showers, that 37-degree high, that 24-degree low, we are definitely going to be feeling for the rest of the day. Turn into my full forecast for what's going on for the rest of the week.
Zanesville City Council recently passed a measure that allows voters to vote on entering an agreement on energy aggregation. WHIZ reports that Zanesville Mayor Don Mason said that he's seen the cost of energy generation rise and energy aggregation succeed. In Ohio, residents have the choice to choose a marketer for their utilities, and that municipalities could band together if wanting to maintain lower rates. Mason noted that residents will have the option to opt out and, if already signed, have to remain in those agreements. A new bill in Ohio Senate could allow Ohioans with marijuana in their system to prove they were not impaired while driving. Senate Bill 26 proposed by Republican Senator Nathan Manning gives people the chance to argue their sobriety, even if they tested positive for marijuana. The legislation aims to address complicated science of marijuana consumption and the effects in the body. Currently, officers can arrest drivers if they have possibly caused the person is impaired.
The rift among Ohio House Republicans could prevent GOP lawmakers from exercising a unique power that only a supermajority has when it comes to passing emergency legislation. There's no real definition of emergency legislation in state law, but Ohio Constitution expert and Cleveland State professor of law emeritus Stephen Steinglass says a party with a supermajority in the state house can approve legislation on any issue that would go into effect immediately. Steinglass says, quote, if by a 2/3 vote of all the members, all the seats, an emergency clause is approved, then the legislation goes into effect right away. That shuts off the referendum, end quote. And that means opponents can't gather signatures to temporarily halt the law to take it to the ballot.
1/3 of Ohio's administrative code could face elimination, according to state officials' planned proposal.
Lieutenant Governor John Husted says the effort is to make it easier for people to comply with the code after AI technology discovered redundant and outdated provisions. Currently, Ohio's administrative code contains more than 17.4 million words.
Beneath the streets of London, a massive construction project is underway.
Crossrail, a huge new railway for London.
How do engineers tackle such an immense challenge?
Everything has to work perfectly.
We're never complacent because that's the day it goes wrong. Wow, wow, wow. That looks fantastic.
London Supertunnel on Nova.
Wednesday at 9 on WOUB.
On American Experience. In the shadow of a world war, they were reluctant symbols of their people.
We invested so much in Joe Louis.
But when they stepped into the ring, the world stopped and watched two men, Joe Louis and Max Schmeling, fight for the title of Champion. The Fight on American Experience.
Thursday at 9 on WOUB.
Lucy Ware Webb was born here. As a young lady, as the wife of the governor, as the wife of the president of the United States, she's always the same person. Just a terrific lady. As residents of Chillicothe, we're very, very proud of her. To have a person of that character to represent this community, small as it is, in the White House.
In southern Kenya lies a remote desert kingdom, home to a cast of remarkable wild creatures. They owe their existence to the largest animal here, and also the smallest. Together, elephants and termites create waterholes, animal oases that are miracles of life. This is the waterhole story.
Wednesday at 8 on WOUB.
High school basketball is heating up across the Tri-Valley Conference.
Hardwood Heroes reporter Ethan Sargent is live from Reedsville with a look at tonight's TVC matchups. Ethan, what hot matchups can we expect tonight?
Thanks, guys. We've got some awesome matchups tonight that could go a long way to determining where Hardwood ends up by the end of the season. We'll start with the girls' teams, where we have a packed slate of action from around Athens and Meigs County. I'm at Eastern High School right now to watch the Lady Eagles take on the Lady Tomcats of Trimble. The Eagles are red hot. They've won their last 6 in a row. The Eastern defense has been lights out, giving up an average of just 45 points per game during this win streak. They'll look to take out the Tomcats tonight, who sit at 4-11 after losing a number of key pieces from last year's team that made a run to the regional final. Elsewhere, there's a huge game in Buchtel as the Buckeyes of Nelsonville York host Athens. The Bulldogs have been the surprise package in the TVC Ohio, but they lost a tough one to Megs on Monday and must bounce back quickly because their tie atop the conference with NY could vanish tonight if they lose to the Buckeyes. Athens won the last meeting 50-43 on December 15th, but both teams will be ready for this clash of the Titans. As we look into the TVC Ohio standings, the stakes become clear. The winner of NY and Athens will control their own destiny for the conference title. There's another important game going on down in Bidwell, where fourth place River Valley will host third place Megs as the teams jostle for conference position. Moving over to the Hocking, where it is a 3-horse race for the title. South Gallia is in the lead, but Waterford is right on their heels after taking down the Rebels earlier this week. But Eastern is also still alive for the title. They're going to need to win out and get some help to have a shot. Now moving over to Friday night, tomorrow night, where the focus is going to switch to the boys' games. And there are some classic battles across the TVC. The marquee matchup of the night is happening in MacArthur, while Vinton County hosts Nelsonville York in a game with huge TVC Ohio title implications. Garrett Brown and the Vikings will look to defend home court against Keegan the Gator Swope and the Buckeyes. There's also a classic rivalry in Albany, where old foes Alexander and Athens will battle it out in a game that's sure to feature fireworks. Any games with Spartan superstar Kyler D'Agostino is bound to have some sparks, and the Bulldogs will have their hands full trying to slow him down. In the Hocking, Federal Hocking will look to pad their lead atop the conference against Eastern, and Trimble will try to keep pace against Southern. As we once again take a look at the standings, the TVC Hocking's vision is starting to clear up. Federal Hocking's on fire. They started 0-2. They've won 15 in a row since then, and they have a stranglehold over the conference for now. Trimble and Waterford are not out of it just yet. Clear is the exact opposite of the TVC Ohio standings, however. 3 teams, Vinton County, Alexander, and NY, all sit within a half game of each other. Alexander at 6-2, VC at 5-2, and NY at 4-2. So they're all right there, and they have a massive matchup between the Buckeyes and Alexander looming in a couple weeks. And with that VC-NY game on Friday, everything is still to play for. And the sprint to the finish is on, and I, for one, can't wait to see how it all plays out. If you want your high school basketball fix, make sure to tune in to Hardwood Heroes on this Sunday at 11 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and on WBTV. Now back over to the desk.
Thanks, Ethan. Sounds like a packed night.
Yes, I can't wait to see who wins. More than 80% of Americans approved of a special counsel to investigate classified documents found at President Biden's Delaware home and former office. John Lorick has reactions from Capitol Hill.
A bunch of questions are swirling around Washington, D.C. right now.
What were the documents? What did they contain? Was there any damage?
And lawmakers want answers. The Senate Intelligence Committee says they have not been given access to the classified information discovered in the possession of President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump.
This position that we are left in limbo until somehow a special counsel designates that it's okay for us to get briefed is not going to stand.
Other lawmakers say they'll take action against the White House.
I'm prepared to refuse consent or to fast track any nominee for any department or agency and to take every step I can on every committee on which I serve to impose consequences on the administration until they provide these documents.
Meanwhile, the roughly 12 items of classified material discovered at former Vice President Mike Pence's home are described as background briefing memos, numerous sources tell CNN. A U.S. official says the FBI is working alongside U.S. intelligence agencies to assess the documents. Meanwhile, lawmakers from both parties are upset with the overall situation.
I'm frustrated that if anyone doesn't handle confidential and secret documents in the manner in which they're supposed to.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
The National Archives is considering sending letters from former U.S. presidents and vice presidents to make sure they too don't have any classified documents.
An indictment in Shelby County Criminal Court specifies charges against 5 former Memphis officers charged in the death of Tyree Nichols. It details the justification of the charges. Chris Wynn is in Memphis reporting the latest.
5 former Memphis police officers are facing charges in the death of Tyree Nichols. The former officers have each been charged with second-degree murder, aggravated assault, aggravated kidnapping, and other charges.
While each of the 5 individuals played a different role in the incident in question, the actions of all of them resulted in the death of Tyree Nichols, and they are all responsible.
Nichols, a 29-year-old black man, was pulled over by Memphis police in a traffic stop on January 7th. He was arrested following a confrontation with officers, hospitalized, and died from his injuries 3 days later. Attorneys for Nichols' family say an independent autopsy shows a severe beating caused his death.
His bleeding was so deep, the hemorrhaging was deep, that it's only consistent with that type of physical contact that those officers made.
Video of the encounter is likely to be released on Friday.
These are more serious than in your typical officer-involved fatality case. But I think after everyone sees the video, I don't think there'll be any questions about those charges.
The city on edge, the public demanding action and accountability.
It could have been you, Edmund Ford. Don't gamble me. I'm here to let you know.
The police chief calling for calm amid the firestorm.
I expect you to feel outraged, but we need to ensure our community is safe in this process.
In Memphis, I'm Chris Wynn.
The grand jury indictment states the officers did, quote, refrain from performing a duty that was imposed by law that was clearly inherent in the nature of the office or employment. The U.S. economy grows, but a recession could be on the horizon. That story's still ahead.
And I'm definitely going to be talking about what we're experiencing right now and for what's to come. And to stay up with the latest on Newswatch, make sure to check us out on our Instagram, Twitter, and our YouTube.
Beneath the streets of London, a massive construction project is underway.
Crossrail, a huge new railway for London.
How do engineers tackle such an immense challenge?
Everything has to work perfectly.
We're never complacent because that's the day it goes wrong. Wow, wow, wow. That looks fantastic.
London Supertunnel on Nova.
Wednesday at 9 on WOUB.
Why Chillicothe? Why this area? For some reason, this became a mecca for what was probably a religion, what we call Hopewell culture. We'll never know the reason that this was so important to certain people and why that developed, but it's certainly a beautiful place for it to have happened.
In southern Kenya lies a remote desert kingdom, home to a cast of remarkable wild creatures. They owe their existence to the largest animal here, and also the smallest. Together, elephants and termites create waterholes, animal oases that are miracles of life. This is the Waterhole Story.
Wednesday at 8 on WOUB.
On American Experience, in the shadow of a world war, they were reluctant symbols of their people.
We invested so much in Joe Louis.
But when they stepped into the ring, the world stopped and watched 2 men, Joe Louis and Max Schmeling, fight for the title of champion. The Fight on American Experience.
Thursday at 9 on WOUB.
Welcome back. And as I've said, today we've been pretty much in the mid to high 30s. That little blip of those 40s are all from late last night. Today we have been pretty consistent in the 37 high, but it's felt way colder with those wind gusts at about 24 miles per hour that have been hitting most of the day. That 50% chance of snow showers has been hitting us pretty consistently all day. As you can see, it came through. We've been feeling it, again, most of the day. Going into tonight, that overnight low of about 24 is definitely going to feel way colder with all that wind that we are having. That chance of flurries is still going to be lingering around, so make sure you're bundling up if you're heading out there tonight. Going into tomorrow, that 20% chance of snow showers is mostly in the morning. We're feeling just a little bit warmer with that high of about 40, that low of about 35. Now, as you're seeing, we're seeing what's going on up there? That's definitely going to be hitting us later in the week. This is what's hitting us right now. We're going to have that day in between that we're going to be mostly cloudy, and then we're going to be feeling it again on Friday. Tomorrow, we're definitely going to be feeling that high of 40, that low of 35. Saturday, we're clearing up, not really, because it's still going to be mostly cloudy with that high of 49, that low of 36. Sunday is whenever we're going to be feeling that rain again with that high of 45 and that low of 35. Monday, we're feeling the cloudiness. That cloudiness is just looming around most of the week with that high of 47 and that low of 29. Tuesday, those showers are hitting us again with that high of 39, that low of 30. And Wednesday, that's when we're going to be seeing that snow again with that high of 39, that low of, 17. Thursday, again, overcast. We're definitely going to be feeling like January in Ohio out here. Back to the desk.
Thanks, Isabel. The economy grew faster than expected late last year. However, recession fears remain. Thursday, the Commerce Department reported that gross domestic product, which is the broadcast measure of economic activity, increased 2.9% in last year's fourth quarter, October to December. Jobless claims also continued to fall during that time as well. And some investors say new data probably won't change the minds of policymakers on the Federal Reserve all that much. A quarter-point interest rate hike next week is still the most likely scenario. The official tax filing season kicked off this week.
And people filing their returns are already seeing significant changes this year. In today's Consumer Watch, Amanda Sansone has some do's and don'ts to make your filing experience as smooth as possible.
This tax season, expect surprises that could impact your wallet. Several tax breaks have changed, and the IRS has announced new upgrades.
Every tax year, there's something new for people to deal with.
Money coach Lynette Calfani-Cox has these 5 do's and don'ts to avoid surprises when filing your taxes this year. 1 do, file electronically.
You're going to get a faster refund check if you're owed.
2, this year there's no stimulus money headed your way, and there's been changes to certain tax credits, like the enhanced child tax credit, which was up to $3,600 per child and is now down to a maximum of $2,000.
For a family that had 2 small kids, before they would have got $7,200. Now they're only going to get $4,000.
Which leads to tip 3. Don't expect a fat check from Uncle Sam. Last year, the average refund issued was $3,176. Experts say that's expected to be much lower this year.
The fact that many people aren't going to get that big tax refund check that they had been anticipating is going to hurt a lot of families' budgets.
4. Do get help filing, either from a professional or from the IRS. The IRS expects improved customer service this year. The agency says it's hired more than 5,000 people to take calls and added more in-person staff to support taxpayers. And 5, don't procrastinate and file on time. This year, the official date to file returns by is Tuesday, April 18th. For Consumer Watch, I'm Amanda Sansone.
Tax filing and payment deadlines will be extended for anyone living in counties declared federal disaster areas due to recent natural disasters. Inflammatory disease may be more common than first thought.
Thanks to viewers like you, we've been able to tell America's stories on this PBS station. Help us continue to tell these stories now and for future generations by including this station in your charitable plans.
Supporting this PBS station through a charitable gift annuity is easy. To find out more, call the number on your screen or visit this website. Thank you.
The Roots have inspired me. Just how genre-bending they've been, epic, iconic collaborations.
These institutions sort of have an understanding that it's a new day.
I would have loved to seen groups that I grew up admiring in houses like these.
This is a genre of music that really shapes us as people.
Throw your hands up.
Friday at 9 on WOUB.
On American Experience, in the shadow of a world war, they were reluctant symbols of their people.
We invested so much in Joe Louis.
But when they stepped into the ring, the world stopped and watched two men, Joe Louis and Max Schmeling, fight for the title of champion. The Fight on American Experience.
Thursday at 9 on WOUB.
We are at Adena Mansion and Gardens. This is where Ohio history began. They're in their writing talking all night long about what they wanted Ohio to be. What type of state did they want Ohio to be? They wrote the Constitution, came out and saw the sun coming up over the Mount Logan Range. That is the inspiration for the Great Seal of Ohio.
A new illness may be more common than first thought. VEXAS syndrome comes with a host of symptoms that can affect everyday life and even lead to death. Mandy Gaither has more on the inflammatory disorder.
For years, David Adams was fighting an illness that hadn't yet been identified.
No, you can't fight your enemy unless your enemy has a name, right? I think they say. And that's sort of the way we felt.
Now, it does have a name, VEXAS syndrome, an inflammatory disorder caused by mutations in the UBA1 gene of blood cells and acquired later in life, according to the National Institutes of Health. It can cause painful skin rashes, pain and swelling of the ear and nose, cough and shortness of breath, joint swelling and pain, and inflammation of vessels. Patients often have fever and extreme fatigue.
That was freeing. It really was. Incredibly freeing to have the diagnosis.
A new study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association finds VEXAS syndrome is more common than previously thought. Researchers believe it affects more than 13,000 men and about 2,300 women in the U.S.
If you're an older individual with low blood counts, systemic inflammation, hasn't been able to get a diagnosis and requires steroids, we think you should go out and talk to your doctor about getting genetic testing for UBA1 and VEXAS syndrome.
Right now, there's no standard treatment for VEXAS, but the inflammation may be treated with steroids and other immunosuppressants. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Since VEXAS can affect several organs in the body, patients may need multiple doctors to help in their treatment. That could include a rheumatologist and hematologist. Now, let's check in with Isabel for a look at your final weather.
That weather has been hitting us. That light snow and those light rain has been hitting us for most of the day. Looking into tonight, we're definitely at that low of about 24, so make sure you're bundling up out there. That chance of flurries will definitely be hitting us tonight and going into tomorrow. That 20% chance of snow is going to be hitting us mostly in the morning. And that temperature high will be about 40 and that low of 35. This is what we're going to be looking like for that 7-day. Make sure to tune in for the rest.
And finally tonight, an asteroid is about to make a really close encounter with Earth, potentially one of the closest yet. Nothing to worry about though. There is no risk of the asteroid, dubbed 2023 BU, impacting our planet. The asteroid, estimated to be about the size of a box truck, will zoom over the southern tip of South America Thursday, about 2,200 miles above the Earth's surface. It is expected to turn into a fireball and disintegrate harmlessly into the atmosphere. The bigger debris will potentially fall as small meteorites. And that is all we have for Newswatch tonight.
That does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. I'm Emma Dolomere.
For all of us here at Newswatch, I'm Juliana Colant. Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next. And remember, you can find the latest news anytime at woub.org. Have a great night.
Rather than trading your car in, do something very good for yourself, for your community, and give the car, donate it to public television. It's so much easier than trying to sell your car.
Support comes from Snyder Strode Jarrett Financial in Athens, providing investment